Hi guys, what's up? It's Will and John back once again for the MMA Huddle, and we're here for a good one. We're here for UFC 252. The trilogy ends here with Stipe Miocic defending his UFC heavyweight championship against the former champion and the guy who obviously is taking part in the third fight of the trilogy here, and Daniel Cormier, one of the best fighters I think we've had in the sport in a long time too. Actually, they are probably the single-handedly the two greatest heavyweights the UFC's had. Cain Velasquez, I'll kind of have a shout in there as well. But a really fun-looking main card, and I'm looking forward to really talking about that. We're kind of going to do things a little bit different. We're really going to fly through the prelims, and maybe going forward, we're going to start picking out some fights that we like more than others, talking about them more than others, because sometimes there's fights in the card where you just don't really want to be spending any more than a couple of minutes on anyway. So we're going to give you a quick picks through that and then go a little bit more in depth for the main card. If you can please like, comment, subscribe. We're over 1,200 subscribers now, which is awesome. And you guys have just been fantastic with that. So keep on plowing the like button, putting your comments down below. And if you're new, hit the sub button and help us out with that. Before we get into it, I'll just pass you on to John, see how he is, and then we'll get into a breakdown for UFC 252. How you doing, buddy?
Bro, I'm great. It's great to have you back. Mucho love having you back. Everyone's great. Be happy to have you back. I'm sure the comment section below will kind of share my sentiment. Yeah, we're going to try something up a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with change. Don't fear change, folks. We're still going to be here. It was great having you all on live stream last week. It was great having you all joining in the conversation. Will, I think the live stream was good fun. Maybe we'd do something in the future with that stuff. Maybe we'd do our own little live streams and pop on every now and then for you guys and girls, if you fancy it, just to talk general MMA. But, Will, this is a heck of a main card, man. This is a good pay-per-view. To be fair, if I'm paying pay-per-view money, which I don't, but it's a good solid card for that.
Yeah, this is the type of I would easily pay money for this type of card. I think it's got interesting matchups in every part of the main card. So let's get into UFC 252. Starting off in the early prelims, we've got TJ Brown against Daniel Chavez. Any kind of early inklings on that one?
I'd probably go for TJ Brown. I think the kind of grappling aspect might smother Daniel Chavez a bit out of the fight, really, and he'll just really be able to put the pressure on. I find that Daniel Chavez, at first in his career, if you watch him evolve, his striking's got a lot better. He's clearly worked a lot of his striking game. He was going through a lot of decisions earlier on. He just didn't have that finishing touch. He seemed to got the striking nailed down a little bit, obviously, in recent fights. He got a kind of weird head kick knockout, which didn't look to do much or hit much of the guy. It was a weird one, but he's an okay addition to the featherweight division, but I'll probably go TJ. I think he has, as long as TJ just watches out for his neck, is a bit smart with that. I think he can just kind of outgrind Chavez for a decision win.
Yeah, there wasn't a hell of a lot out there on Chavez that I found. There was one where you had to pay 20 quid for his fight. I'm like, dude, you expecting anybody to pay 20 quid to a Daniel Chavez fight? Like, come on now. I like TJ Brown, but I think he comes with risk in a pick, because I think he does make a lot of mistakes and he does put himself in some positions where he could get submitted, get knocked out. He's very kind of grappling orientated, and he will look to take this fight to the ground. I've got no doubt about it. I think he will do it. I think he could be a little bit sketchy in some spots. Chavez might be a little bit live, like for the say that TJ probably does make some mistakes that maybe Chavez can take advantage of. But for me, I think that the overall grappling will win him this fight here. So I've got TJ Brown for the win. Herbert Burns against Daniel Pineda. I do like Herbert Burns, I must admit. I think that he's a good addition. I think they're giving him good matchups. And then they've got Daniel Pineda, who's coming in here. He fought in the UFC many moons ago, went to the PFL. I think he got a steroid ban as well. Herbert, they've did the right thing. It was Nate Landwehr, it was a beautiful knockout. Then he really hurt up Evan Dunham a little bit there, got him down, got the submission. I think that Pineda, I've seen spots where his back gets taken. I think if Gilbert Burns, I was going to say that. If Herbert, that's really hard to not say Gilbert Burns, but if Herbert gets the back, I think he submits this guy. I think this is one of the better guys that Pineda's had, kind of jiu-jitsu wise. I think he's dangerous on the feet. Pineda, in my opinion, needs to kind of make it a bit of a brawl, and hopefully Burns kind of falls into that spot where he kind of stands and bangs pretty much, and that's maybe Pineda's path to victory. For me, I think Herbert Burns, once he gets it to the ground, he will kind of cut through him like a knife but eventually get a submission. So I've got Herbert for a sub.
Yeah, I'm going Herbert as well. I think that he is able to stand on the feet with the knowledge of the ground skills he's got, he'll just throw heavy and wait for that opportunity to arise where whether he maybe falls over or Pineda falls over when it gets to the grappling exchanges. He won't really exchange too much energy to get someone down. And with Pineda, it's a big question mark. We got popped from the PFL, and you think, what on earth are the UFC re-signed this dude up for when he got cut by them because he got popped? Man, it's fun because I'm thinking, what's he going to pass this time? He's doing via USADA. Never mind PFL's testing USADA. So, he has looked good. Don't get me wrong, he looked good in PFL, but obviously we can see why. But yeah, I'm going Burns, mate, submission. I think he should probably get the fight to the ground. And he's not too bad on the feet, Burns. He's not too bad at all, actually. He's got some good crack in him.
Yeah, he's got. I like what they're doing with him. I do like what they're doing. They're slowly building him up and giving a guy like Pineda who's got a ton of experience. I think it's a good matchup for him. But yeah, I like Burns in that spot too. We've got the return of Felice Herrig here as she takes on Virna Jandiroba. Who have you got?
Man, I like this matchup. I think it's a great test for Jandiroba, but I'm going to go with Felice. I just think that she's such a wiry vet, and with the UFC knowledge she has and kind of experience, she's the kind of girl who's definitely your gatekeeper, but she's got the grappling and the striking. And I think this Felice could probably just keep this fight on the feet and just really kind of just jab and strike it. And then if she needs to shoot for a takedown, grab the takedown, sit in guard, just wait till the referee stands you up and then reset again. And Felice is strong. She is a strong girl in that division. She's great athlete. She's got great cardio. You don't really see Felice ever get gassed out big time. She's always in great condition. So I think she should be able to get this decision here. So I got decision win for Felice.
Yeah, this is a tough fight for me to pick. I think that obviously the back's against the wall for Felice. I think she's 36 years old coming, so she's old for that division. And she's coming off a 2-fight skid where she lost kind of pretty handily a couple of times there, which is never a good look. She lost to Michelle Waterson and lost a kind of close split. I definitely thought it was the right decision to give it to Carolina in that one, where she kind of got boxed up a little bit. The one thing I do like about in this fight that she'll have the advantage on the feet, because I don't think Virna's all that good at all. She's more of a ground fighter, positioning with her jiu-jitsu. She'll look to pass position. And that's kind of where I think Felice can win this fight. She's got a fairly good takedown defense. She's not one of these girls that predominantly gets taken down 4 or 5 times in a fight. I think she's like a 76% takedown defense, which is decent. So she's going to need it here against Virna because, like I say, I don't think she's good in the feet. I think she's very predictable with the strikes that she throws. She doesn't really want to throw strikes. She wants to grapple. You've seen that in the Carla Esparza fight. Now, she's got takedowns in that one against a good wrestling Carla, someone that I can underestimate all the time and kind of bet against, and she always proving me wrong. But she is good. She does advance position very well. And Mallory Martin, she did that. She really got her down, and Mallory had nothing off for her kind of off the ground. So I'm going to take Virna via a very close split decision. I think this could be a bit of a smelly judge's decision. But if you're betting it, the value is probably on Felice, which she plus 255. Virna Jandiroba minus 310. Jesus, no way. So the value, in my opinion, is on Felice. But I'll be wanting no part of that fight betting wise. So Chris Dokis against Parker Porter is up next. I literally watched one fight this afternoon of Chris Dokis, and I'm probably going to watch the fights of Parker Porter. I've only seen 2 fights that I can really find for him, and I believe he's the guy that fought John Jones, I want to say way back. So
way back.
Way back before Jones was even in the UFC, so that's a long ass time. Like I say, all I've seen from Dokis, he likes to kind of keep it in the feet, and the fight that I saw, he kind of threw a high kick up and kind of caught the guy pretty much it was the weirdest spot, like round the back of the head.
Yeah, he was turning away, you see. Yeah, shielded away from himself, yeah.
But like I say, I haven't really looked that much into it. I would rather go with the guy who I've kind of seen a little bit of, but seeing that is only one fight that I've seen. But I'll probably watch a wee bit more of that tonight if I get the time. But I'll take Chris Dokis. I'll go. It's probably a dog or pass kind of type situation. I'll take the dog and I'll take Chris Dokis in that one.
Yeah, Porter's more of a boxer. He doesn't do a lot. He throw a rare kick here and there, but if he gets you on the ground, I'll be honest with you, Parker Porter's just a fat dude, and we gets on top of you, man. It's obviously hard to get him off. I remember watching the fight and he did the intro for Parker Porter, and I went, "Oh, cool, he's just a fat dude to fight." And then his opponent was an even fatter dude, and I went, "Okay, this is interesting." And he literally, I think he got on top of him and mounted him. I thought, "Oh gosh, that's gonna be gnarly. I can't get that image out of my head." And watching Parker's fights, you know, he has a submission win, stuff like that. He gets to the ground. With Christo, I found that he's got actually not too bad striking. He's a bit fluid on the feet, but he does get hit, and he can he was winning a fight though. I've saw where he was winning fights and losing where he can kind of get hurt. I'm going to go with Parker Porter only because he's really economic with his movement. Because he's just going to be, I think he'll be the heavier guy and he'll have a nice boxing punch in him. He doesn't exert a lot of energy, so he's always got power in his hands because he's not doing much else. And because you'll have Chris will be the one who's going to be on the outside, moving around, footwork and throwing stuff. I think Parker's just going to time it to get him in to hit him. So I'm going to go with Parker there. You said Chris, didn't you, bro?
Yeah, I said Chris.
Yeah. You won't enjoy the tape study. I'm just going to give you a heads up right now. They're just, it's woeful for both, mate.
So moving on, women's strawweight division back in there yet again. We've got Ashley Yoder against Lívia, Renata, Souza. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Souza here. I feel Ashley Yoder doesn't have the best striking. She doesn't have enough power in her hands. I think Renata Souza is obviously she gets you to the ground. That's going to be a great place for her. But on the feet, she's shown such improvement. If you watch her in Invicta fights, man, I've been like seeing her over the Invicta years and growing into the UFC as well. Her striking's come along. She's got good fast hands. She's got good fast movement, and I think actually Yoder. She just has to. I think Souza gets Yoder to the ground. It's going to be a great little battle for her. I'm going with Souza potentially submission win. If not, I think she'll get a decision.
Yeah, I'm more on the Souza side in this one. I've never really been all that kind of confident in kind of Ashley Yoder in the UFC, and I mean she's won a couple of fights, which is fair play. I didn't actually think she'd maybe come into the UFC and win fights, and she came in, she lost 3, she won 2, and then she's kind of back on the losing streak side in a very kind of close fight with Ronda Marcos, where she did kind of run that fight closer than I kind of expected it to. But the 2 wins that she has is 2 girls that aren't even in the UFC anymore. Souza, to me, better on the feet. I think she's more dangerous on the ground as well. So I do not like her striking defense at all. Though when I watched that Van Buren fight, she was put against the cage and she was getting hit with shots. But Van Buren's got one of those skill set that can be very, very good actually in the women's division because she's a wrestler, straight out wrestler, and that's what she looks for. Unlike Esparza does, and Esparza really makes it work for her. Not that I'm putting Esparza and Van Buren in the same block really, but it's like two girls, that kind of fight similar in my opinion, and kind of rely on the wrestling. And Souza really was just a little bit outmatched with the wrestling there and that kind of output of Van Buren. I don't think she's going to get that here. To me, Yoder needs to kind of really. I look at this, I'm thinking, how does she really consistently win this fight? Can she maybe take the back and win large periods of the fight through that? I'm like, I don't think so. So for me, I'm going to pick Souza. I think she could run away a pretty comprehensive 30-27, maybe 29-28, or maybe even get Yoder out of there. But I've got Souza for the win. Up next, we've got Jim Miller, who's making his 36th trip to the UFC Octagon, which is absolutely crazy. I see faces off against Vinc Pichel in a fight, the prelims. Yeah, that's a crazy stat. He's probably going to get close to 40 fights. When you think of that in the UFC, that's a crazy number to have fights under the biggest banner.
It's so rare to get that kind of high figures because guys don't last. I'm not saying the girls don't. I'm just saying like guys just don't last that long. It's not. You usually get like 3-4 years in the UFC max, and most guys have gone by then. Like even 2 years would be a surprise if most guys have gone by it within 2 years. It's crazy. 36. What a great kind of testament to his CV as a fighter.
Yeah, and I mean, this fight was thrown together on 10 days notice, not even that, I don't think, and he got that performance of the night bonus last time out there against Roosevelt Roberts. They were throwing the young kid to the vet, and it was either going to end one way or the other. To me, Jim Miller's still this guy that you cannot rely on him in rounds 2 and 3 anymore. So for me, it's Vinc Pichel needs to just get through the first round and not be in positions where he can get his back taken, and that he has been a couple of positions like that in the past. But I think if he gets through round 1 here, I think he's the guy to pick, in my opinion. He's very hard nosed. I think the weight cut, from what I saw an interview there where he was saying that obviously he was like, I want to say it was 190 or 185, so he's having to get down to 155 on 10 days' notice. That's a bit rough. So if he gets, and saying that if he makes the weight, he could be a little bit depleted in rounds 2 and 3, where it could become anybody's fight. Like I say, to me, I've got Vince, but very, very close. I kind of feel more on that if he doesn't get submitted or taken out in round 1, I think that he just does more in rounds 2 and 3 to win a very close decision, or maybe even get him out there in the third. But Jim Miller might just prove me wrong again and win a fight. But I'm going to go Vince Pichel via decision.
Yeah, I feel bad fading on Jim Miller still now, because he still pulls out the hat, and it's so annoying. But I am favouring Vince because he's a solid guy. Like, he's strong as an ox, and comes to like grappling aspect, I think Jim will have to fight for that takedown, which it might not be worth it. And Vince has got pop in his hands, man. And you just think to yourself, Jim's been rocked a few times. Vince could hurt him. Could it really deter maybe Jim from engaging the grappling aspect, getting hurt a couple of times? I'm kind of going Vince. I just feel that, man, even then, I'm going to go with like a 29-28 potentially here. And I think even Jim might even squeeze it, and take the win, because he might even sneak in like an armbar or something, submission attempt, like a jumping armbar. But man, it's a tremendous little fight. And man, I will never hate on Jim Miller. I've always been a fan of his, and I will always be a fan of his no matter what. He's a great addition to UFC so long ago, and still going, man. He's like a Cerrone, do you know what I mean? They just keep going, these guys, and they're looking great.
He's actually a guy I really wish I think I'd like to meet him, just for he is a kind of legend of the kind of UFC.
Yes.
I might actually say I have met him, but I could be wrong. I actually think I did, but many, many moons ago. But I'd like to kind of meet him again. And like I say, he, in my opinion, he's one of the kind of legends of the UFC. You get close to 40 fights in the UFC and fighting the guys who he's fought, and they still try and bring these young kids in against him, and he still comes through and wins in spots. So shows you just the gameness compare that Jim Miller, but he's got a tough fight here. So that's your prelims out the road. Now we're into office main card, in my opinion. Every fight here I am fully kind of invested in. I'm looking forward to seeing. There's young prospects, there's the old guard still there, and then there's just a great championship fight on kind of topping everything off. First fight, we've got some bad blood here in a rematch. It's Magomed Ankalaev against Ion Cuțelaba, who are rematching after that absolute weird fight that kind of went down last year. I think, was it last year maybe? Or was it early this year? Let me see. It's probably early this year. Let me bring that up.
Can't remember the day it was. I remember it, but I don't remember the day.
So 6 months ago. This year's feel like the weirdest. It kind of feels like what's going on. I don't know what's really going on half the time. But back in February, that was just a weird fight. And for a 40-second fight, John, who you got? Take it away.
I'm going Ankalaev. I just think that even though there'll be bad blood, I think it'll be more on Cuțelaba's side. I feel like he's a guy who kind of he hangs on to stuff like that way more. He's far more raw and emotional. Ankalaev's just like just a calm, silent assassin. Keeps his emotions in check, or he just suppresses them, one or the other. And I feel that even in the fight, I think, my worry is with Cuțelaba is he'll just come in this first round with that emotion of like, oh, I'm not having this again, and just going all out in the first round and just basically emptying that gas tank a bit too early, where Ankalaev will be fresh. He'll probably block a few punches, move out the way. We've got to remember it's a big cage they're in. They're not in the small cage this time.
It's true.
Big factor to take into, because Stipe said, I want a big cage so I can run away from DC. But Ankalaev's going to use that space. He's good at using the movement and space around, likes to use his kicks, likes that range a good bit. I kind of go with Ankalaev because I just feel like he's a far more well-rounded 3-round fighter than Cuțelaba is. I feel like with Cuțelaba, if you can get his range and get the better of him and start picking away, you more frustrate Cuțelaba. Now, don't get me wrong, Cuț's got a lot of pop in his hands, and he gets in range, he'll just let that blitz go. But I kind of still go towards Ankalaev. I feel like, especially after the first time going at each other, I think Ankalaev might just feel like he's got a bit of a measure and a bit of an advantage in the mind game. So I'm going to Ankalaev in this one.
Yeah, it's hard to really pick Cuțelaba in this spot, in my opinion. but he's pretty much got 5 minutes to do it. Kind of like, in my opinion, with some of the fighters I mentioned before, like Jim Miller and so on. I think that that's what he does. He comes out and he blitzes people in the first round. It's a pretty known thing when you look at his record in Cuțelaba, and after kind of 5 minutes, he's not the kind of same version of himself, and you can definitely beat him. Kind of like what Glover did, what Cannonier did in that fight there. He really came in there, hit Cannonier with some big shots, but eventually he faded, and Cannonier was just a better overall fighter. So he's going to come out here. There's definitely bad blood on his side. I'm interested to see the weigh and seeing how close he gets. I mean, there was a lot of jaw jacking. Like Ankalaev, there was only 13 strikes thrown in that 40 seconds. And Ankalaev was just kind of spamming high kicks. And it looked like to me that Cuțelaba was kind of playing possum, playing about. But the ref didn't like that. And he thought a clean shot landed and he stopped the fight. To me, the more well-rounded mixed martial artist is Ankalaev. I think the more dangerous guy is obviously Cuțelaba. But I think Magomed's got more stuff he can kind of lean on in this fight. And I would be surprised if Ankalaev wanted to come out here and really engage in a brawl. I think he's smarter than that. I think get through that 5 minutes, I think he can pick apart someone like Cuțelaba and get him out of there. So I've got Ankalaev via decision. I think I'm going to take a decision. I'll go stoppage in the third round, actually. I'll go a stoppage. This is a really interesting fight. John Dodson against Merab Dvalishvili. They're really trying to see if John Dodson can keep up with these young prospects. He did it against Nathaniel Wood. He's kind of got a different bit of opposition here in Merab, who we all know what his game is all about. It's just reactionary takedowns, and he can do it at any point of the fight. That's what he looks for. His striking's dangerous. He throws a lot of spins, and he's a little bit kind of unpredictable, so you have to be careful with what he throws, but he's not very technical with it. And he's against a guy in John Dodson who I think can counter very well, is very powerful. It's hard to really lock down in any one spot and deliver strikes. So in my opinion, he really has to grapple here. And John Dodson is not a guy that's kind of easily grappled with. He's not even a guy, that's easily hard to kind of cut off the cage. Peter Yan did it, but eventually he came in there, he took a few shots himself. I think he got Peter Yan down, so he can wrestle a little bit. John doesn't want to wrestle with someone like Merab and give him the opportunity to get his hands on him, because once you get your hands on, once Merab gets his hands on you, you're usually taking a ride. Not that he keeps you there, though. That's the thing. He's a guy that will get you down, but he won't keep you there for long spots of the fight. And against someone like Dodson, who's been around and faced everybody, I think that. See, I really want to pick Merab, but I actually think this is a good style matchup for John Dodson, because I think he's going to be hard to hit. I think he's going to be hard to take down. So everybody loves Merab because, especially if you're a DraftKings player, this guy is the king on DraftKings. This guy is the absolute kings, and he's breaking his own records every single fight with his takedowns, with his advances. So on DraftKings this week, this guy is going to be absolutely played within an inch of his life. I think it's a really hard stylistic matchup. I'm just bringing up Merab's numbers here. So last fight, 73 strikes with 13 takedowns with 14 passes. Oof. If you're in DraftKings, you just throw all your money on Merab in certain type of matchups. I think this is a tougher matchup for Merab here. I don't think he's going to outstrike Dodson. I don't think he's going to have huge success of taking him down on numerous occasions. Now, if he tires Dodson out and can get his hands on him, then he could definitely do that, because Merab's a bit of a Terminator. He keeps on coming and doesn't really stop. But I'm just not convinced it's a good matchup for him. But if he comes through this one, that's a massive win to have over John Dodson, because he beats up prospects and he can really derail prospects. He did it with Nathaniel Wood, even though I thought Nathaniel Wood fought a good fight. But John's at the tail end of his career. If he stops some of these takedowns here, I think he can do enough on the feet and be elusive on the feet where a decision. So I'm going to take John Dodson to win that fight.
Well, you and I were talking off air. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you think there's any interference with the audio or anything, we have got the thunderstorms going over us at the moment. So just in case there is any jittering or joltering, just thunderstorms. But yeah, bro, we were talking about off air where John Dodson he's got a solid takedown defense, and it's something that people need to take into account and acknowledge. Like, he is really hard to take down because he's such a low center of gravity. He's so short as well. Merab's going to have to get super low and work hard to get John Dodson down. So like you say, well, I think the number 13 is not even close to what he could get with John Dodson, because I think he's going to have to work a lot harder just to get one takedown. And like you say, the other issue is because he doesn't keep guys down. If you're only getting John Dodson down twice around, let's say, that's six over the fight, and you're not keeping him down. But John Dodson's going to get off on you on feet. He's going to hit you. He's going to land. I think he's got the better footwork than Merab on the feet. I think he's got the better angles. And one thing John Dodson does, he's got super explosive movement still. Even now, even being a veteran, that flying knee is something you need to all listen to and watch, because he's going to let that go. He is going to sit there and watch Merab's tape, see what movements he does to show for the takedowns, and he's going to go for it. I reckon you'll see a flying knee attempt at least twice in that fight. I think he'll be either land it or he'll get close to it. John Dodson's a horrible guy to keep down as well. So Dvalishvili, even though he has problems keeping guys down, he's going to have a nightmare keeping someone like John Dodson down. And most of Merab's punches landed are when he gets on top of someone. He needs to work on his control on the ground. I would have thought, working with Aljamain Sterling for so long, he would have a better kind of game for control on guys. Because I think if he just got more, he could knock that takedowns from 13 down to 3 and just keep guys down all around. He's winning fights. I just would like to see him do that a bit more, because I just feel like he's wasting energy and wasting time with these over like kind of 13 takedowns, or even 10 or 7. You know, if he can get like 3 around, one each round, he'll take it all day long. But I'm going John Dodson. I just think footwork, movement, and the good thing is John Dodson, he's got a great fight IQ these days, where he is adjusting his fights. The Nathaniel Wood fight is a good example. He adjusted himself in the second, he just adjusted each round. He just comes back. He's got the corner there, years of experience in his corner. They just know a couple of little tweaks and he's good. So I'm kind of going John Dodson. I think he can get like a decision win here if he doesn't get like a wonderful stoppage flying knee, mate.
Mm-hmm. Moving on, heavyweight division, the former champion, one of the legends of the UFC, Junior Dos Santos, against the kind of one of the young upstarts that's kind of coming through. And when I say young, he's only a couple of years younger than Santos. But Junior Dos Santos against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, an all heavyweight kind of banger here. Really interesting kind of fight, both parts of their careers. Who do you see in that one?
Well, I would say heavyweight, but Junior Santos is the shredded weight. Woof! Dude is looking trim. Dang, Junior. Man, he's looking great condition. I don't know if he's doing the keto thing. I think it is what he's doing. I think he's doing like some keto diet or whatever it is. He looks in great shape. And I'm not saying he did do anything, but all I'm saying is if we all remember pre-USADA, Junior Santos, great shape. Post-USADA, he did look a little bit, he lost a little bit. I don't know if that was the heart condition thing that maybe played a factor. And now he's got it all keyed down. He looks in tremendous shape. And one thing I'll always say, Junior Santos, Alistair Overeem, all those guys, they know they're on that age and stage of their careers where they are fighting a lot wiser now than they did before, where they were a bit more wild. They're taking shots. They know now they're a bit more patient, a bit smarter with their choice of strikes. Junior Santos has always had great boxing. He's fighting a guy who's a kickboxer. If I'm going to win this fight, if I'm Junior Santos, I just box. I don't do anything else. I don't bother throwing silly kicks. He likes to do spinning kicks and head. Don't throw kicks. Just boxing. Boxing, stance, everything. Just boxing. Just pick him off with the hands. Now, I know Junior Santos and the kind of ATT thing, calf kicks might be a thing, but I don't even bother with this with Rozenstruik. I would just try to box him. Rozenstruik's going to try and come back after his loss, because he had a great momentum. But it was kind of like, it reminded me of, what's his name? No Time, Uzdemir, where that momentum quickly stopped. And in those divisions, it's going to happen here. Rozenstruik's got to close the distance down on Junior Santos. We've seen Junior Santos with great ring control. He's great at keeping on the outside, keeping on the punches, jabbing you all day long. And he's great with that long jab to the body, which doesn't look like a lot. But when if a 250-pound man punches you in the stomach, it's going to tickle. If he punches you 10 times in the stomach, he's good with the long jabs and right straights to the body. It does pay off and it pays dividends. Rozenstruik, for me, he's only trying to use the kickboxing. He will try and swing. He'll come forward, as we know, blasting shots. I'd like to see Junior Santos use the footwork to get out of the way. I'm going JDS decision here. I think he could maybe just outlast Rozenstruik, just outstrike him and outpoint him for the win here.
Yeah, I've been struggling with this one a little bit because, like, before we come on here, I think Dos Santos has actually got the kind of boxing kind of prowess to really win over a 15-minute period of this fight if he doesn't get caught here and he doesn't throw single shots. I think if Dos Santos, to me, if he throws singular shots, then he's in danger of getting countered, and that's where his chin, like you say, at heavyweight, everybody's chin's kind of fragile of a big shot because they're all big guys and they've all got big power. But I think if he throws single shots here, I think he's in trouble getting knocked out by Jairzinho. So I think he has to throw really crisp combinations, like you say, like you brought up a good point there of abandoning kicks or using them sparingly, or not doing it too much. Because I think if he does that too much, I think Jairzinho will start to read him and could counter us. If he was throwing low kicks, he could come over with a 1-2 and knock him out. Because Jairzinho, like I say, he has Junior Dos Santos is a boxer who's kind of got some kicks there, but Jairzinho is a kickboxer who can probably see the reads a little bit better off that. So Dos Santos maybe try and get some takedowns in this. That would be something I think he could try and do. I'm struggling with this one, honestly. I still think it's actually a little bit quick for Jairzinho Rozenstruik coming back 3 months after getting... That was a brutal knockout, by the way. That was a brutal knockout.
Yeah.
And I think that there is Stipe, DC, their level, and then literally just below there you've got, and I'm talking just below there, you've got Ngannou, who is just, he is the most dangerous guy in the division. There's absolutely no doubt about it that he's knocked out everyone pretty much outside of the 2 guys that's in the main event. So he's knocked everyone out from your Blades, Rozenstruik, Overeem, Dos Santos. He's knocked them out. So it's a tough fight for me. I feel like I should be picking Dos Santos. I think he can pick and pop here for a decision victory, but I'm just not super confident in his chin. I think that Jairzinho could maybe catch him with something. So I'm going to go Rozenstruik via knockout. I think he might catch Junior Dos Santos with something late. Oh, that's a tough... I was initially... my gut feeling was actually on Dos Santos. So I'm kind of going against my gut in that one a little bit, but I'm going to take Rozenstruik to win that fight. Looking forward to that one, though. Co-main event. This is a great fight that I've been looking forward to since they made it. We've got the Sugar Show and Sean O'Malley returning after his brutal show-stealing knockout over Eddie Wineland. I say show-stealing because for me, Cody Garbrandt's knockout was better. But
I agree.
I'm a Cody Garbrandt fan, but I am a massive Sean O'Malley fan as well. So you've got Sean O'Malley here against Chito Vera. In my opinion, definitely by far his hardest fight in the UFC. They've gave him a step. Well, it's a step up, I think, against a tougher guy than he's faced. I mean, Wineland's out. Teco Quinones has got... I don't want to say he's got no fight in him because he's Mexican and all those guys have fight in him. But Vera's a guy that has been in long rounds with good opposition and won some fights through that. I thought he was very, very unlucky against Song Yadong. But when I watch it back, I can see why Song got the nod. But so you've got Sean O'Malley with that kind of in and out style, very flashy, feints a lot, great footwork, will throw spins. You don't really know what's coming with this guy. I'm really looking for... I want to see his ground game. Because I've seen a couple of his like Twitch things where he talks about like nobody's seen my ground game yet. But he's so fluid and so fast and so crisp and comfortable in the feet that just not see that. But the more step up the ladders you're going to get the chance to kind of show that off. You're going to knock out your Eddie Wineland, who you've got a massive reach advantage first of all, but a speed advantage. Like, he was like so much faster than Eddie Wineland. Where Chito Vera is a guy that's never been stopped. I don't think in the UFC off the top of my head. Let me just check that out, so I'm not talking out my backside, but I'm sure that's something. Decision. Yeah, so he's never been stopped in the UFC, and that's a feather in the cap of someone who's been in the UFC for nearly 6 years as well. Not saying he's fought the greatest opposition in the world, because he hasn't. He's beat your Roman Salazars and your like Brad Pickett, who, to be fair, Brad Pickett was winning that fight before he absolutely smashed him with a head kick. But his losses to John Lineker, Douglas Silva de Andrade, Song Yadong, I mean, they are tough losses, but he fought tough in those fights, and I like that there, where that if he doesn't get taken out, he doesn't get hit with some shots. Now, I'm not saying that Sean O'Malley can't knock him out in any round in this fight, because Sean O'Malley's got beautiful striking, like destructive striking at any point. But Chito Vera is going to stand there, and he's not going to sit back and just take these shots. He's going to fire back, and he's got a lot of weapons himself. I'm actually a big fan of Chito Vera. I think I've loved. He reminds me of kind of a Neil Magny type-esque fighter who came from the Ultimate Fighter, did not look great at all, but then gradually, the longer he's been in the UFC and he's moved himself to America, moved to a camp that is obviously flourishing under him, he's becoming, in my opinion, a top 15 guy in probably the hardest division, I think, in the UFC. Bantamweight, like the most talent-driven division, in my opinion. But when I'm saying that, you look at his 5 wins that he had in a row, they're not great wins. So he does well over people who I think are below him. So Yule, Hernandez, Sainz, Canete, Buren. There's some spots in that fight there where he does get taken down, get put in a bad position, but the guy's a fighter and he's game as fuck. He's as game as they come. He stands there, he's ready to kind of throw down. Yadong, I want to bring up the stats actually of that fight, because I thought he was landing the bigger, kind of heavier blows on a guy who I thought was faster as well. Was
wicked fight.
Yeah, so the speed advantage thing, I bring that up for Sean O'Malley. I mean, Song Yadong landed 100 strikes on him, but he actually got some takedowns in that fight. I think it'd be interesting to see if Chito took this fight to the ground. I love Sean O'Malley, but I think the betting line is kind of crazy in this one. I think that Vera is a step up from anything he's even faced before, even close to face before. And we have seen some frailties in some spots. I don't think he looked all that good against Terry Weir, even though he won very convincingly. The Sukumtath fight, obviously there's that. If Sukumtath has a fight ITV, he has a chance to win that fight. Hype-wise, I would like Sean O'Malley to win this fight, because this guy's made a serious name for himself outside the cage as well, which is for a young guy, I think is amazing. And coming through the Dana White Contender Series, where I've really put my eyes onto a lot of those guys now, and you can see what that show can do for you. And if they build you up correctly, and the UFC have did that, they did well with Sean O'Malley with the fights that they've gave him. This is a big step up against a game tough guy. I think he can win the fight, but for me, I'm just going to edge Chito Vera. I think that he's going to survive some kind of early onslaught, but I think he's going to come into the fight the later this gets, and I think he's got an opportunity to win a decision here. So I'm going to take Marlon Vera for your decision.
Yeah, it's a cracking fight, Will. I'm with you on that one. It's probably the more exciting fight on the whole card. Don't get me wrong, I like the main event, but I think the main event though is a double-edged sword, because if it goes one way, it's going to be a mess for the heavyweight division. But with this one, if Vera wins, it projects him massively. So it's great for Chito. If O'Malley wins, it projects O'Malley with another little win, and it just gets his marketability going. So either way, for both parties, it's a win-win, especially for the UFC, even one win. I love the matchup, because I just think, like you saying, well, the toughness of Vera is something you cannot ignore. You cannot write that guy off. He has come along and evolved so much since the Ultimate Fighter. And he's working at Team Yama. He was at that for ages and well, doing lots of work. He's absolutely tremendous. The growth he's shown. His striking's come on. He likes to use those front kicks to keep guys away a little bit, which is something I think O'Malley, likes to throw kicks as well. I think the pair of them are going to have a little standoff here. I think Vera, if I'm Vera, I'm going to just hold out the counter, because he's got. I think O'Malley's going to got like a slight reach advantage, like a small advantage on him. And if you look at the Eddie Wineland fight, now I know Eddie Wineland got stopped in the fight, but during the fight, he was clipping O'Malley. O'Malley was getting hit by Wineland. He was, O'Malley kind of leaves himself open for shots. Vera's going to be able to hit him with that reach he's got. He's going to be able to land punches just on Sean O'Malley as well. One thing that will do is it might make O'Malley have to pull back, be a bit slower, and think about his shots a bit more. But also, we don't know what O'Malley's going to be like in the third round fighting a guy who doesn't stop, a guy who will keep coming forward. The Sukutov fight was like we said, well, he had the injury, so it's not the same thing. So we can't even look at that to see what he's like on a nice hard worked fight, a nice, like a hard earned fight. I think O'Malley's got a harder fight because he's going to have a guy just going out for 3 rounds. Vera doesn't back off. You look at that Song Yudong fight, like you said, Will. I think Vera was a little bit cautious with the Song fight. He just seemed a little bit tentative every now and then. Like you said, it was super close. I think if he'd landed a couple more shots, heavier shots on him, it could have been a whole different result. I think if he was a little bit more confident going forward on Yudong, he would have got the nice decision win there himself. But I feel like he can just he does have stoppages in him. Vera as well. People just don't realize it. He's got the stoppages. He's got the TKOs. He's got the submission wins. He's not a guy who's not. He's just there for O'Malley to win. It's a hard fight for O'Malley. It's a fucking hard fight, and I think he's going to have a tough fight against him. I'm going for the dog as well in Vera because I think he's going to fight for your money. He's going to be hard to put away. O'Malley is going to come in confident. He's not fighting Eddie Wineland. Eddie Wineland of 6 years ago, folks. Different kettle of fish. Eddie Wineland 6 years ago was a different animal, different savage, but he's not the same guy Eddie Wineland now. It was a perfect fight for Sean O'Malley, fighting a solid name in Eddie Wineland in from the bantamweight division, getting that win. But like you said, mate, Sukutov, Quinones fight was meh. I'm going to go Vera as well, bro. I think he can get the win here. I think he can get a decision win and walk away with a little thing.
Yeah, it's just the way, to be fair, but we might say like the people that he's faced, but he shut down those people as well. Like Teko did not have a clue what to do in that fight. No. I don't think he landed anything. But then you look at Wineland, he was just so slow and kind of lethargic compared to a guy like O'Malley. That's the fight to me. I know we've got a great main event coming up here, but to me, like that fight, the O'Malley Vera one is a great fight. Where I feel like I should be on the O'Malley side, but I think the value is on Vera, and I think he fights tough. And if O'Malley comes out here and knocks out Vera, that's a massive feather in his cap.
Yeah, huge.
Especially if he does it in the fashion that he does his knockouts. This guy, like he's going to rocket up into superstardom, in my opinion. I think he's going to put himself in that division. He's going to get a massive fight after this. So I'm interested to see that fight. That's the fight I'm got my eyes on. I'm looking forward to seeing. So now we're on to our main event of the night. The third fight between these two great heavyweights, two great fighters of the sport. You've got Stipe Miocic looking to defend his belt yet again against Daniel Cormier, who's looking to regain his belt yet again. So phenomenal fight. This is going to be DC's last hurrah. Stipe got that massive win in the rematch, which for some parts of that fight I thought this is on DC's side, but then he managed to find a spot, really kind of weakened him up a little bit and got him out of there. So who have you got in this absolutely banging main event?
It is, like you said, Will, in that second matchup, we know that the two of them are not going to do much different. No. There's not much the pair of them are going to come in with. Daniel Cormier is not going to change the way he is. Stipe is not going to change the way he is. Obviously, we know that Stipe kind of took a back seat from training to focus on being the firefighter with the coronavirus, stuff like that. So I'm not sure how much he stopped altogether with the training, how much intensity he had. It might have done him good because we know Stipe's had the back problems in the past. So it might have, getting off the training, the grind of MMA, it might have helped him a little bit. With DC again, his issue was the conditioning, and we spoke about this. He did not look in good shape for the rematch with Stipe the second time around. He looked way better shape in the first time, but the second time it's like he enjoyed his chicken. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm in the crispy type, and I think DC this time around, obviously, if he can get his conditioning on point, I don't know why Stipe just can't go and win again, because he was winning the fight against Miocic. He was out-punching him, outlanded him the whole time. When Stipe tried to engage in the grappling, DC didn't have any of it. We got taken down the once, but it was a trip, I think it was, or whatever. And DC was straight back up again. Other than that, when it came to the grappling exchanges, when DC had Stipe down, DC was able to absolutely unload on Stipe's face I want to say the end of the first round or first or second. I'm sorry, I'm getting it mixed up there. And Stipe, just couldn't. It's weird. He's got an 8-inch reach advantage, Stipe, and he cannot keep DC away from landing punches. I cannot understand this. How on earth is someone with an 8-inch reach advantage not able to outbox you? I don't get it. It's like Stipe can't. He's scared to land the jab. I'm like, dude, 8-inch reach advantage is huge in a striking game. But for whatever reason, he's not able to do it. Stipe's not able to land that kind of boxing, which you'd like to see him get off on DC. But DC's just got a way to just walk forward, grab your hands, and then start coming over the top of your hands is what he does. Little smart movie, little trick. Just puts the hands on top of your gloves and then pulls the glove down to pop over his shots. Man, I still favour towards DC on this one. I know Stipe started landing those liver shots, but I think if Bob Cook just speaks to DC and Javier as well, speak DC, like, look, there's counters to the left hook because it was a little bit slight delay when he was going for them. He's leaning forward for the left hook. There is punches there for DC to throw. Like, if he could throw a right straight before that lands, before he throws the left hook, you could really start to land on Stipe a bit and try not to let those body shots start landing. Even try to throw his own, counter back with a left body hook. He didn't do it himself, and DC's short enough to land the body hooks a little bit easier than Stipe because he doesn't have to go down as low. I think if Cormier's got the conditioning, I'm picking DC. I just think he can outwork Stipe. He's a bit faster, a bit quicker. As long as he's got this conditioning on point, I'm kind of going with DC on this one. He's got Kanan helping him out in training. Luke Rockhold's come back. He's announced he's coming back as well. Luke Rockhold, MMA. Yeah, calm down, folks. I can hear the crowd cheering. Yeah, no. I want to see Darren Till versus Luke Rockhold just put out there for 185. That'd be a good scrap. But, Brill, I'm going to pick DC. I want Stipe to win, by the way, because if he doesn't win, it messes up the heavyweight division because DC then retires a champ, relinquishes the belt, and then you got the heavyweight division just a mess. So I think it would set up Ngannou and Stipe 2 nicely with Stipe win, but I'm picking Cormier, bro.
It's a very fun fight. I've never been huge on Daniel Cormier. I've actually been quite a big fan of Stipe throughout his career. Actually, he was one of the guys before he even came into the UFC. When he was coming into the UFC, I said he's going to be the heavyweight champion. So, and he's probably solidified himself as the best as of kind of right now. But never been huge on the DC side. But I really respect his grind and his kind of ambition, because I don't think he's the most talented fighter, but I think he's one of the most driven fighters I think we've had in the sport. I think he's made use of what skills that he has got and really transform himself into a very kind of tough fighter to face. But obviously he's coming off a devastating loss against Stipe. In my opinion, he was winning that fight, the rematch. I think he was up probably 2 rounds to 1, but Stipe was starting to, he wants to be fair, I'm starting to really pick his spots in round 3 and especially round 4. Once he really found that spot, he really attacked it well. And Cormier knows that Stipe is smart enough to really find a spot where he can kind of take over and be careful with that. It's kind of funny that the wrestler, or that you would think the more predominant wrestler in DC would have kind of more takedowns, but Stipe's actually winning that 2-1 off their fight there. So that's kind of interesting to me. But Daniel Cormier is actually kind of outstruck probably the better overall striker, the boxer, in Stipe Miocic, who won Golden Gloves back in the day. So really kind of hard, interesting fight for me to pick. I think I was on Stipe in the first fight. I picked Stipe in the first fight.
I'm with you as well. I'm with you on that. I was with Stipe more so, yeah.
So I kind of, this to me, this fight is so close, like intangibles. You either get a good reading it and you can find the spot and see that, and some people do that. But for me, I find this a hard fight to pick between. I think they're both well matched. I mean, Stipe got knocked out in 4 minutes against DC the first time around. Actually, I did not see Stipe knocking him out in the fourth. In the range of things, I did not see that. I thought that if Cormier was going to get knocked out, it was going to be in the early parts of the fight when DC was I thought Stipe was a bit more fresher because I thought DC was kind of grinding on, put his body weight on him and such, but did not see that coming. But he's got that spot that he found it and he can exploited it. like I say, it's a weird matchup because if DC wins this fight, then the heavyweight division's kind of up in arms again, and you absolutely know 100% the UFC want to put a belt on Francis Ngannou because that would do massive for Africa, and he's been the kind of golden boy for a long time. And to be fair to Stipe, like, what's Stipe really got to kind of left to prove in the sport anymore? I mean, this is big for him. I think this is as big a fight as he's got left in the UFC. The whole John Jones thing, I don't think that happens because John Jones is sitting back. And I think the longer he kind of waits for John Jones and on all that, I don't think it's great for him. So he's did everything that I think he has to do. But this fight, to me, probably it's going to solidify the greatest heavyweight of all time. Whoever wins 2-1. I mean, I know Stipe will have the more title defenses and so on, but this, to me, it puts the kind of flag in the ground as you're the greatest heavyweight of all time. So I'm going to pick Daniel Cormier, but honestly not overly confident because, like I said, I don't think the greatest read on the match, personally, myself. I'm looking forward to sitting back and seeing how it kind of goes. Is DC going to use a wrestling kind of heavy game plan? Is he going to look to kind of strike a little bit more? Because I think he can strike with Miocic, even though, like you said, he's at a big reach disadvantage. I think his striking's pretty good. But he will look to kind of clinch up, dirty box, kind of like he did in the first fight and so on. I'm going to pick DC for the win, but like I say, not super confident, but a great main event. I'm looking forward to seeing DC kind of move into retirement because he's got so much to offer. A colour commentator, as a coach, he's got a young son who wrestles, does a lot for the UFC. I'm looking forward to seeing kind of DC in a role after the commentator.
I've got to say, leg kicks, bro, as well. Daniel Cormier was from leg kicks in that second fight quite well. I think if he'd stuck to that a little bit more as well, that would have had a great worked out for him really well. Slowed down Miocic and just use him as that he could pick off at him as well, for takedowns. But I forgot to mention that as well, bro.
Yeah. So it's a great main event, great main card, actually. It's one of the best main cards we're going to have of 2020. And I'm looking forward to kind of watching that this upcoming weekend. So that's a prediction side done for this week. We'll be back next week. We're going to go into the betting side of things very quickly. I've got no bets as of yet so far. But there is some that I do like. And like I say, it's hard to really bet, in my opinion, anything under the main card. I've not got the greatest reads in some of the fights, I don't think. But there's some of the fights I just don't want to bet. If I was betting anything from kind of prelims, I would maybe look at someone like a Herbert Burns as a parlay piece at minus 250. In my opinion, I think I would like it lower, but minus 250 to me is a fairly decent parlay piece. TJ Brown, if I had more confidence in him, minus 170 could be a play. You can maybe hit the overs in the over 2.5 in the Felice fight and the Yoder fight. So there's a couple of spots there that you could use. I mean, Jim Miller is minus 105. Vince Pichel's minus 115. It's pretty much a dead pick on with a slight lean on Vince Pichel at this point. Like I say, there might be some value in Vince if this fight hits rounds 2 and 3, and he's a hard guy to face as well. Once you get into the main card, I want no part of Cuțelaba, Ankalaev. That's too high, too much in my opinion. Even though you probably should be in the value side of Cuțelaba there if you're going to play that fight, but you can't trust Cuțelaba at any point really. So moving into Dodson, Dvalishvili. This is as good odds as you've got in Dvalishvili in a long time, like minus 185. I can probably see that coming down a little bit because Dodson is a vet that will probably garner some respect with the way that he fights, and he could be an awkward style matchup for Merab. He's plus 160, so that's decent odds actually in Dodson. I might have a look at that. It's a hard thing fading Merab though, because you know what he brings to the table. So yeah, Dos Santos against Rozenstruik. Dos Santos is the slight underdog at plus 130, minus 150 on Jairzinho. Like I say, you went with GDS. I actually don't think it's a bad bet. That I would like a wee bit more on the Santos side, but you're still getting dog odds in a fight that he could win over. I think a 15-minute span of this fight, he could maybe box him up a little bit. Marlon Vera plus 260. He's actually higher over here in the UK. Plus 275, I think he is. So to me, there's value on that big time because we've got O'Malley making a big step up in caliber opposition here and a tough guy that's never been knocked out. And if O'Malley doesn't knock him out, what we're going to see in rounds 2 and 3, because we've not seen a hell of a lot of that outside the Terry and Ware fight and the Sukumtath fight, where you really can't take anything away from. He was kind of beaten up in Sukumtath, but Minus 320 on Sean O'Malley. He's either going to look really good, like if he comes through in this spot like he has been doing, minus 320 is going to look like a steal, but I think Cheeto's just going to fight tough, in my opinion. So value, in my opinion, is on Cheeto's side. I'm probably going to take a shot. I mean, if I'm picking him as that wide underdog, I think I should maybe take a shot on him. So we'll see where that line goes. And the main event is pretty much a dead picking with a slight lean in DC at minus 115 to minus 105. Like I said in the breakdown, if you've got a lean or you see this fight better than I do, then go ahead. I think more people from what I've seen are on the Miocic side. I think he was a slight underdog for a long kind of period, a couple of weeks maybe. And so people like the underdog money in that spot, and they probably will get it, in my opinion, again this week, minus 105. It doesn't take much for someone to put money on Miocic and move to 100 again. So I feel like I want to bet that fight, but like I say, I've said numerous times already, I've not got a good read, so I'm kind of just throwing kind of darts at that fight. In my opinion, maybe the thing I'll look at is maybe rounds 3, 4, 5 in decision for DC. This fight kind of rings out to me. If the fight doesn't finish in the first couple of rounds, then hopefully DC can maybe do that, but it's a tough fight.
Or the fight goes over 2.5 or whatever it is.
Yeah, that might not be a bad bet actually. But like I say, we have seen DC knock him out in 4 minutes before, so it's a weird fight because DC, in my opinion, was winning that fight pretty handily the second time around. I thought Miocic was coming into it, but I did not see Miocic knocking him out in the later rounds. Something I just did not envision, honestly. But that's just the variance of the heavyweight division. Things can happen at different times. So, yeah, I will have probably a couple of bets in this one. This card definitely. You can check out my bet MMA tips if you just look for Will Martin. You'll find me on there. But there is some spots that I like, but it's a kind of toughish fight. There's some nice underdogs. We're back next week for who we got next week actually. I don't even know. 252. I'm kind of just going week by week and seeing. Oh Jesus Christ! It's
Munoz and Edgar.
And Yoel Romero's back in that card as well. So that fight's next week. Oh Jesus Christ, that fight's coming together there. So that's actually not a bad card. It's actually some decent fights in it. OSP's on there.
Jared Gooden makes his debut. Yeah.
Chance. I'm over the moon for that guy. He's a guy that you've interviewed a couple of times. I know he's a good friend. Best fight picks there coming out of Georgia. He's been championing him for the longest time, so he's getting a short notice opportunity. Much, in my opinion, it's deserved. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jared fight next week. Until then, guys, please hit that like button, comment with your picks for this week, and if you're new to the channel and you like what you're hearing and like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button and help us grow the channel. Hit that bell and you'll be notified when the videos come online. For myself and John, all the very, very best. Enjoy UFC 252 when it comes around this weekend.